Hello, good afternoon. The US has seized a Venezuelan-linked oil tanker in the Atlantic after pursuing it for more than 2 weeks. In the past few minutes, the United States European Command has confirmed the capture, saying that the vessel had violated US sanctions. The move threatens to stoke tensions with Moscow amid reports that the vessel has a Russian flag painted on its hull. It's also understood that a Russian submarine has been escorting it. The tanker changed its name from Venezuelan to Marinera last month, slipped through a US maritime blockade of sanctioned tankers, and then rebuffed US Coast Guard's efforts to board it off Venezuela in December. It's currently in the North Atlantic Ocean, around 200 kilometres south of Iceland. Our US correspondent David Blevins is in Washington for us. So a success for the American Coast Guard here and the Department of Homeland Security who've been involved in this, David. But it's given them quite the runaround, hasn't it, this vessel?
Yes, this has been a developing story, not just for the last few hours, but for the last few days, even weeks, Jane. But the picture has become clearer in the last few minutes, with confirmation coming from the US European Command in a post online. This is what they say. The Justice Department and Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Department of War, today announced the seizure of the MV Bella-1 for violations of US sanctions. The vessel was seized in the North Atlantic, they say, pursuant to a warrant issued by a US federal court and after being tracked by US CGC Monroe. So we've learned a number of things, that this military operation involved 3 departments of government: Justice, Homeland Security and the self-styled Department of War, that they had obtained a warrant from a federal court, that this vessel, the MV Bella-1, had been tracked by another vessel, the Monroe, for some time. That Monroe vessel is a Coast Guard boat that has been heavily involved in stopping the movement of drug traffickers in recent months. And they say that the warrant was for a violation of sanctions. Now, that all does make sense, because the Bella-1 was sanctioned by the United States back in 2024 for operating as part of a shadow fleet of tankers alleged to be transporting illegal oil. Now, it had been on its way to Venezuela last month when it suddenly did a U-turn, probably because the US had already seized 2 other tankers, the Skipper and Centuries, and since then the United States has been in pursuit of it.
Thanks so much. Well, let's just bring you this latest post on X from the US Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. He says the blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect anywhere in the world. Well, let's bring in our military analyst now, Sean Bell. So, Sean, it's been reported that the US has now taken this Venezuelan-linked tanker. How do you go about boarding an oil tanker in the middle of the sea?
Yeah, good afternoon, Jane. Nice to be able to hear you this time. You're absolutely right. You know, now that the ship has been seized, how does a massive ship that's largely doing about 10 miles an hour, you can run faster than the ship, evade US military attention? Well, part of it is about the boarding. Having been involved in helicopters, dropping people onto ships, it's a very much a teamwork approach. And if the ship doesn't want you to board and it continuously moves around, you can change the wind over the deck, you can make it very bumpy. And of course, trying to land the helicopter, therefore, will be very difficult. You can, of course, rope people down. But again, if a ship is moving in the swell, rolling, it can be incredibly dangerous, and it would depend on the weather. Information inevitably is scant at the moment. The US Coast Guard and the military, as you say, have been tracking this for 2 weeks. For most interesting from a military perspective is this change of flag. It was flying a Ghanaian flag. As soon as it left the Caribbean, it switched to a Russian flag, and there are reports that are actually painting a Russian flag on the side of the ship. All of that was because under international law, therefore, the Russians can protect it. And we understand there was a Russian submarine and some surface vessels running around protecting it. What's not clear is the details around this. What we do know is that the Russians did lend a lot of money, billions of dollars, to the Venezuelans to buy Russian military equipment. And in return, the Venezuelans were due to provide oil. Whether this has got anything to do with that or no, will come out in the coming days. But what is clear is that the mission has finally been successful, and this ship has been seized just off the coast of UK.